Nigeria, now more than 60 years as an independent nation, is an evolving story of a journey into nationhood that dates back to the pre-colonial era. Since 1999, the country has been experiencing what remains the longest-running democracy in history, but not without challenges. Nigeria has the potential for greatness, where everything good looked possible, but a lot went wrong. Discontent and agitations for development in the Niger Delta saw restive youths take up arms against the government, arguing that communities responsible for the resources that make up more than 70% of the nation's revenue were symbols of abject poverty. No electricity, no clean water, no schools, yet decades of oil spills, acid rain from gas flares strip away their means of livelihood.
When you pay ransom, you actually empower them to do more.
Dennis is a security consultant and a regular analyst on television, where he prefers solutions to insecurity. He believes the Niger Delta agitations were for a good cause.
The Niger Delta militants were fighting for a purpose. They were freedom fighters. They were fighting for the despoilation of their environment, where the oil that keeps Nigeria going is coming from. And when the government saw that it was not right, that something has to be done, that's how they went and negotiated with them, give them amnesty so that they can bring out all the arms they have, and then of course created the Ministry of Niger Delta to address the problem that this militancy have started in Niger Delta.
In 2009, an amnesty deal by the Nigerian government under President Umaru Yar'Adua was offered to militants in the Niger Delta area to reduce the unrest in the oil-rich region. It was the same year Boko Haram evolved from a ragtag militia group to a high-profile terrorist organization, launching a crusade of violence in Nigeria's northeastern region.
We got to this point by not nipping Boko Haram in the bud. You know, we are not nipping them, and then they were allowed to fester, and they grew and grew until they now started having different kinds of affiliation from overseas. And then, of course, some people started supporting them in the country, and then they now sent out their people. Those bandits we are calling are part of Boko Haram, because these are guys that, you know, they have affiliation. People, some of them that have been arrested, have shown or have confessed that they are from the Boko Haram camp. Some of them have even carried out operation with Boko Haram. So they are, and we should not make any mistake about it, because terrorists usually raise money by kidnapping, armed robbery, and those are the ways, or drug smuggling. Those are the ways, the standard ways of terrorists raising money.
The violence perpetrated by Boko Haram and by the counter-insurgency campaign against it resulted in the deaths of nearly 30,000 people between 2009 and 2016, extensive physical destruction, the displacement of about 2 million people, and severe food crisis affecting more than 6 million people in the northeast. While Boko Haram and other insurgent groups are far from technically defeated as touted in the media, hundreds of so-called repentant insurgents have been rehabilitated into society in recent years.
That program itself, I am not very happy with, and I don't support it, because in fact there was one that was repentant, he was rehabilitated, and he finally went back home and then killed his parents and then went back to Boko Haram. So, you know, that kind of program has not been well thought out.
In recent months, the security situation in Nigeria has assumed an alarming dimension, with stories of killer herdsmen and bandits who have made a habit to kidnap for ransom, now a regular news item. Banditry violence has affected populations living in Nigeria's Zamfara, Kaduna, Niger, Sokoto, Kebbi, and Katsina states in the northwest. According to ACAPS, a humanitarian needs analysis organization, about 21 million people living in these states have been exposed to insecurity from the activities of bandits. Northwest Nigeria has been terrorized by criminal gangs who raid villages, stealing cattle, kidnapping for ransom, and burning homes after looting supplies. Recently, a criminal gang leader behind the kidnapping of hundreds of school children in Kankara community, Katsina State, surrendered to authorities in an amnesty deal. The incident had sparked global outrage and highlighted growing instability in the country's northwest.
The current advocacy for amnesty is one that really belittles the Nigeria as a country. Because if you are saying we should give amnesty to criminals who will go to a school, to Kankara for example, and abduct pupils, children that are supposed to be shielded and protected, and take them hostage. We would have seen videos where women were taken. Some of these kids are barely 2-3 years old, and they were taken into custody for ransom. And you are saying we should give them amnesty. So why is Evans on trial? Why is Evans the alleged kidnapper on trial? I think it's an injustice to criminals or suspected criminals like Evans, to give amnesty to these people. If Evans is on trial, I don't understand why the so-called bandits should be given amnesty. If the government is considering amnesty, like I said, they should start by releasing all prisoners in Nigeria. They should start by releasing every person who is being held for kidnapping, for murder, throughout the 36 states. Because if they don't do that, the question will be, what is the basis for giving amnesty to these criminals? In any event, they have not surrendered. You cannot be talking about amnesty when the war is going on. When you can't be talking about amnesty from a position of weakness as a state, as a government.
It is reprehensible. It is rewarding evil. It is rewarding people that have gone out of their way to deliberately destabilize the country and take human lives in the process. But it tells you the fact that Sheikh Gumi can say so, and the fact that the country has been romancing with terrorists and bandits by paying them is an indication that the Nigerian state is exceedingly very weak, that they now have to pay protection money. That's the only way I can see it. After they have done this horrendous thing that should bring the wrath of the government on the people who did it, the kidnappers and the bandits and the terrorists, then the next thing is settle them, pay them, let them be happy. What are the people who have been killed in the process? What are the people who have lost lives and their homes destroyed? Do they not, are they not worthy of anything from their government, from their country? Only for the perpetrators of serious crimes against them to be rewarded in the process. What message are you sending out there to people? This is not a way for any country that is desirous of making meaningful impact and developing. This is not the way such a country should go. It's a shame, it's a scandal, it's a paradox. It's abominable that we have gotten to this level, where we now have to cuddle and hug terrorists and beg them.
Foremost Islamic scholar Sheikh Gumi had met with bandits in their hideouts, appealing to them to embrace peace.
I embarked on the first mission, which is in the Jere area, and I was surprised to find that these herdmen, they feel they are the victims of everything, and that they are pushed by circumstances beyond their power to engage in this kind of crimes for survival. I'm sorry to say, killing somebody to survive. So what led to that is perpetual marginalization, perpetual neglect by governments immemorial. You cannot remember when they had this effective, not something written on paper, effective intervention to look at their welfare, their education. So when the nation is plunged into corruption, the nation is plunged into all kind of vices, they too took their own, that kind of national cake of crimes. So they go into banditry, they go into kidnapping, stealing, and all those of things, trying to survive, because the nation is so corrupt that if you don't involve in corruption, you cannot survive. This is what I found, honestly speaking.
Well, I don't know who he's actually mediating for, but I know that he was talking to them. Of course, what he's proposing, I don't think the Nigerian government should accept it, because you cannot negotiate with criminals. You negotiate with criminals and then either rehabilitate them, give them money. I don't think that's the way.
Sheikh Gumi also asked the federal and state governments to offer amnesty to bandits, saying dialogue is a solution to insecurity.
I always want to listen to the other side and see and compare notes and see how we can do. So to our surprise, these people we all see as demons. These people we all see, we know that they commit heinous crimes and are very dreadful. Are just young, small boys that if managed very well, we can immediately efface all the problems they have. And one thing too, for moral justification, we have to give them out of the national cake, which they never tested anything of it.
Well, it's just that Sheikh Gumi said something that has been happening for some time now. So there's really nothing new about what Sheikh Gumi has said. It's just that when you say this publicly, the way he has done, it tells you how low the country has sunk. And the Nigerian state has really sunk to, after the Dapchi girls were kidnapped, they were released all of a sudden. One day, they were just released. And the Minister of Information said the government did not pay anything. Like there was no financial inducement to the terrorists. Some of us found it very hard to believe because terrorists, by their nature, are generally bad people. They don't do good things. They do horrible things. They kill people, they take people against their will and the rest. And for all of a sudden, for them to become Father Christmases was something that was too far-fetched. So we didn't believe that. Luckily or unluckily for the government, the United Nations came and told us that millions of dollars were paid to the bandits, to the terrorists. So what Sheikh Gumi has said is just something that has been done over time by the government. Whether it's Kankara, whether the one that happened a few days ago in Niger State, where there are speculations that these people who kidnapped these children have been induced financially.
That begs the question, why is the government comfortable sitting down with people who are purely on a criminal mission, purely out to steal, to kill, and to destroy? And the same government is not even comfortable, discussing with peaceful protesters. So when you look at what is going on, the reason why these criminals will not stop killing, why they will not stop kidnapping, is because they know that as far as the current government is concerned, as far as the governors of some of these states are concerned, they are shielded and protected. They are shielded and protected because when you have someone like Sheikh Gumi coming out to say that these people have the right to carry out vengeance or revenge, as he put it, and even trying to polarize the Nigerian military along religious lines. But guess what? Till this moment, Sheikh Gumi has neither been invited nor arrested by the State Security Service to explain his mission, to explain his statements, and to explain his complicity in the activities of these criminals. How come that Sheikh Gumi is able to locate their camps, is able to meet with them, is able to speak with them, and the Nigerian army cannot, the Nigerian police cannot, the Nigerian Air Force cannot? What does that tell you?
But what is the difference between the amnesty offered to the Niger Delta militants in 2009 and the present offer for bandits in the north?
There's no basis for that. So anybody, I know Sheikh Gumi tried to use that as a basis to confirm the fact that, look, something needs to be done for the criminals and the people. I mean, look at even when the kidnapping started or developed much later, after the struggle had gained ground in the Niger Delta, and even at that, the people who were targets mostly, until it got out of hand, were usually security personnel and people related to government, whom they saw as running an oppressive state. But for these people, everything is game. Whether it's a child, whether it's a little child, whether it's a woman, it's an old woman, an old man, and so on, nothing is beyond them.
When we say amnesty, what exactly are we talking about? An amnesty for who? I have seen this absurd, this ridiculous analogy on social media, where people compare the advocacy that is being made by a section of the public for amnesty to be given to these criminals to what the late President Yar'Adua did for the Niger Delta militants. And I find that very absurd. Everybody in Nigeria knew what the militants were fighting for. What Tompolo, what Asari Dokubo, what Boilov, what General Africa, and the other warlords in the Niger Delta region were agitating for. You may not have agreed with the agitation, but it was clearly spelled out. There were issues of environmental degradation, years of neglect, years of oil pollution that was never addressed, and underdevelopment in the region. And who were their targets? They basically targeted all facilities. They basically targeted expatriates. I am not aware that the militants in the Niger Delta went to schools to abduct pupils, to abduct women, and take passengers on the road hostage and kill civilians for ransom. Their targets were basically, the expatriates and, government, facilities. They were not targeting civilians. In any event, they had things clearly defined objective, what they were fighting for. That was why the late President Yar'Adua did not only give them amnesty, but also, created the Ministry of Niger Delta Affairs. That showed that they had legitimate agitation. They had legitimate things that we're fighting for.
It is one kidnapping too many. Following the abduction of students of government secondary school in Niger State, heightening the vulnerability of schools and drawing global attention to the level of insecurity across the country. Niger State Governor Abubakar Sani Bello is supporting the call by the National Assembly for a declaration of a state of emergency on security in the country.
This cannot continue like this forever. So going forward, we need to put some things in place to address this issue once and for all. I honestly believe that we have suffered enough of these banditry activities. We have been very patient and tolerant on these matters.
Yes. So
we have been doing our best. But at this point, it is more of a national issue.
A State of the Nation outlook with regards to security shows that there is hardly any part of the country where safety is a luxury. In the northeast, Boko Haram holds sway, while in the northwest, there are bandits. Move to the north central and down to the south. There you have killer headsmen as a growing source of concern. This is not forgetting the fact that militants can one day return in the south-south, with agitators in the southeast also demanding amnesty.
There is militancy, there is banditry, there is crime committed, we know. We are looking for solutions, and looking for these solutions took us into them. And first, let's see, on what terms will they agree that they lay down their weapons and become good citizens? And we have their reasons, which the press is also aware of.
When your house is on fire, the best thing you will do is to follow the normal procedure of putting out the fire. And when you put out the fire, and then of course everybody will calm down. But if you don't have that political will, because that is what is the major issue here, the political will to handle this situation. All over the country, never in the history of this country have we come to such a crossroads whereby there is problem all over the states. The military is deployed in all the states, So it is very, very essential, especially for the politicians, both the executive and the legislators, to sit down and quickly do something about it. You know, if there are constitutional issues that have to be settled, they should settle them right now. If there are other issues that are supposed to be settled about tribal or ethnic or religious, I think they should look at it, because we cannot continue like this. If we continue sitting down and looking at it, then we're sending our country into flames.
We're in a terrible situation in the country, but obviously we cannot fold our hands, we cannot give up, you know, and allow, you know, further destruction to befall us. So we must, as a people, rise up to say no to engaging criminals and dubious elements of the society in such a manner by begging them and appeasing them. So this culture of appeasement must stop. That's one. And then we must be able to encourage our government to go all out, to deal. Some of us still believe that we have the wherewithal to deal with these criminals and the bandits and the terrorists. We have the wherewithal. First of all, we have the will in terms of our fighting forces. I mean, our men are courageous. Our soldiers, you know, male and female, are courageous. They have proved themselves over time. You know, all that is needed is for you to provide a proper environment for these people to thrive, for them to do well. Equip them properly, adequately, you know, and ensure that they have all the necessary body armors for their own protection. Ensure that the allowances are paid on time. Ensure that if anything happens to them, that their dependents, their wives and their children will not suffer as a result of that. So these are the things that will motivate them when they are fighting, knowing that if they make the supreme sacrifice on behalf of their country, that it is only their absence that their families will miss, because the Nigerian state will adequately take care of their children and their dependents. But that is not the case. Immediately some of these people are killed. The very next thing, if they are staying in barracks, that within a day, within a few days or a few weeks, they just bundle them out of the barracks. Their emoluments not paid, you know, and then you just throw them into the cold. How are they going to have the courage to give their all to their country when they know that at their moment of need, the country is not going to be there for them?
Amidst all the challenges in tackling insecurity and ensuring the safety of lives and property, the government must address the issues with political will to reach a sustainable solution, or else the situation remains like a revolving door, with amnesty for bandits not necessarily the way out.